The Pacific Royale Hotel's ballroom glimmered under cascading chandeliers, a monument to opulence. My parents' 35th anniversary celebration was everything you'd expect from the founders of Delgado Global Logistics. Lavish, theatrical. I smoothed the hem of my navy silk dress, understated amid the parade of couture gowns and glittering jewels. Across the room, my brother Adrian's booming laughter dominated the conversation. He was surrounded by venture capitalists, spinning another story about his latest brilliant acquisition. Adrian always knew how to command a stage, especially when the audience was rich. Isabella! My mother's voice sliced through the music as she approached, her diamond necklace catching the light. Darling, you finally made it. She air-kissed my cheek, careful not to smudge her flawless makeup. Then, with a quick, appraising glance, though you could have worn something brighter, she quipped. I just smiled. Let her think my dress was plain. I'd learned long ago being underestimated was my favorite strategy. It made the reveal so much sweeter. Happy anniversary, Mom, I said, handing her a small, meticulously wrapped gift. She weighed it with visible disappointment, her manicured lips tightening. Oh, how thoughtful. It probably felt too light compared to Adrian's grand gesture. A luxury Mediterranean cruise for two. My father appeared then, glass of vintage champagne in hand. Still running that little venture of yours, Isabella? It wasn't a venture. It was a global cybersecurity firm protecting Fortune 500 companies and defense agencies. But why ruin their illusions? The business is doing well, Dad, I replied evenly. Adrian strolled over, his platinum watch flashing like a trophy. Come on, Izzy. Doing well is code for barely surviving. How many people work for you these days? 5? 6? He chuckled, turning to our parents for effect. Meanwhile, I'm out here, landing real deals, billion-dollar territory. Isabella's just playing entrepreneur with her cute little startup. I smiled faintly. If only they knew about the 3,500 employees across 15 countries. Or the $6,800,000,000, 0 cents, market cap we quietly hit last quarter. Mom patted my arm with mock sympathy. Honey, you know there's always a role for you at Delgado Global. Your father and Adrian could use someone to manage small accounts. I'm good, Mom, I said firmly. Really? Adrian smirked and pulled out his phone like he was about to deliver divine news. Speaking of good, have you seen today's headlines? Delgado Global just finalized the Stratos acquisition. Closed the entire deal myself. Our parents lit up with pride, as if he'd single-handedly conquered Wall Street. I raised my glass and smiled, hiding the truth. While Adrian celebrated his billion-dollar buy, tomorrow's announcement would eclipse it all. My company securing the $42 billion defense contract the world had been speculating about for months. And when my CFO arrived tonight to collect my signature, every assumption in this room would shatter. Strata Systems was a mid-sized cybersecurity company and one of my fiercest rivals. Impressive, I said coolly, swirling the champagne in my glass. $200 million, Adrian bragged, his voice carrying across the ballroom. But I guess that's hard to comprehend when you're still counting profits in thousands. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Tokyo wants confirmation for the 9 p.m. call. I smiled faintly. Adrian had no idea what storm was coming. If only he knew. I'd been watching the Stratos deal for months. Every whisper, every clause. In fact, I'd been tracking every move Delgado Global made for over a year. Tell them about the expansion, Dad urged. Adrian puffed up like a peacock. Now that we've secured Stratos' security contracts, we're launching a new AI division. Going to corner the market before any of these small-time operators even blink. His gaze slid toward me, smug and sharp like a blade. I glanced at my watch. Any second now. Still wearing that old thing? Mom's voice dripped sugar-coated venom. Adrian, didn't you just buy 3 new Pateks? Or, actually, he corrected smoothly. When you're handling billion-dollar deals, you need to look the part. Speaking of which, Isabella, your dress. Last season? Something like that, I murmured, feeling my phone vibrate inside my clutch. Adrian smirked. You know, Izzy, if your little business is struggling, I could toss you some small contracts. Out of family loyalty, of course. The ballroom felt suddenly too warm. Laughter floated from nearby tables, oblivious to the war brewing in front of them. That's generous of you, I replied evenly. Dash. My phone buzzed again, caller ID, Marcus Wong. CFO. Excuse me, I said, rising gracefully. Really, Isabella, Mom sighed. At our anniversary party? Must be trouble at the little shop, Adrian chuckled under his breath. I tapped accept and put the call on speaker. My voice stayed calm. As Delgado, Marcus's crisp tone carried clearly over the music. I'm pleased to inform you the merger is complete. The paperwork just went through. You now own 60% of Delgado Global. The champagne glass slipped from my mother's hand, shattering across the marble floor like a gunshot. Conversations halted, heads turned. The string quartet faltered mid-note. The sound echoed, but nothing compared to the silence that followed. Adrian's confident smirk curdled into a mask of disbelief. Dad's grip on his glass trembled. What did you just say? Dad's voice cracked, almost a whisper. I held up one finger, eyes locked on Marcus. Thank you. Is everything ready for tomorrow? Yes, ma'am, he replied. The board's been notified of the emergency session at 9 a.m. Press release is finalized. Excellent, I said, ending the call. I slid the phone into my clutch and smiled. Not the tight, polite kind they were used to, but the real one. Now, I said, lifting my glass. Where were we? Oh, right. Expansion plans. Across the ballroom, a ripple of vibration spread as phones lit up. Notifications pinged like distant gunfire. The news was breaking and spreading fast. Adrian froze, then snatched his phone from his jacket pocket. His confident grin dissolved as he scrolled. His lips parted, color draining from his face. This is impossible, he stammered. We would have known if someone was buying shares. Would you? My voice was silken steel. Like you knew Stratus's real value before you overpaid for it? Dad ripped the phone from Adrian's trembling hands, his own fingers shaking. His eyes darted over the screen as whispers swirled around us. Silent acquisition, shell companies, private equity firms. It says these shares were accumulated over 18 months. 19, I corrected smoothly. It's amazing what people miss when they're too busy underestimating you. Mom collapsed into a nearby chair, her immaculate composure fracturing for the first time in decades. But your small business. I let the silence stretch before speaking its name. Nova Shield Technologies, current valuation $8,200,000,000, 0 cents. And yes, it was small 3 years ago. Gasps punctured the hush like glass breaking. I met Adrian's stunned gaze. Now we're the leading AI-driven security provider across Asia and Europe. That's not possible, he snapped, desperation rising in his voice. I handle every major tech acquisition for Delgado Global, I cut him off. The same company that just spent $200 million, 0 cents, acquiring Stratos Systems without realizing it was already obsolete. Murmurs rippled. Guests leaned in, phones recording now. Our systems, I continued evenly, are 3 generations ahead. Stratos hasn't been competitive in years. Adrian's jaw worked soundlessly as the truth sank in. You let me buy it. You knew that it was worthless? I tilted my head. Yes, that's what happens when you skip due diligence. Too busy buying Pateks to notice Stratus's biggest clients had already signed with Nova Shield. Dad stepped forward, business instinct finally battling panic. Isabella, let's discuss this reasonably. We're family. Family? My laugh was low, bitter. Was it family when you told me coding was a waste of time? When you said women in tech were a passing trend? Eyes burned into us from every direction. Cameras flashed. Whispers turned into a hum of scandal. You can't just take over Delgado Global, Adrian's voice cracked. The board won't allow it. I slid my tablet from my clutch and unlocked it with a tap. You mean these board members? I turned the screen toward them. A cascade of emails, every signature clear. They've pledged full support for new leadership. Effective tomorrow at 9 a.m. The room went deathly silent. Then, softly, I raised my glass. Congratulations on 35 years, Mom and Dad. Here's to the next chapter. If you think the shock in that ballroom was the end, trust me, it was just the beginning. Want to see how Isabella handles the boardroom showdown at dawn? Subscribe now and stay tuned for the next part. You won't want to miss it. Turns out, I continued, my tone cool and measured, when you show them projections of how integrating NovaShield's AI systems could triple shareholder value, they're remarkably receptive to change, especially after watching this company stagnate under current management. Da da da. Mom finally found her voice, though it cracked like fine china. All this time, those small contracts you took, they weren't about survival? I smiled faintly. No, Mom, they were reconnaissance. Every so-called favor you threw my way was an opportunity to study Delgado Global's weaknesses. And every time you bragged about a new acquisition or expansion, you handed me intelligence on a silver platter. I let my gaze sweep the glittering crowd. It's amazing what people reveal when they think they're talking to someone beneath them. Gasps rippled as the ballroom's towering LED screens, intended for a sentimental anniversary montage, flickered abruptly to breaking news banners. My professional headshot dominated the display, side by side with Delgado Global's logo. The headline scrolled in bold letters. Tech giant NovaShield acquires Delgado Global in surprise. $6,800,000,000 0 cents deal. Isabella Delgado named new CEO. The hush was immediate. Phones buzzed like hornets, cameras clicked in staccato bursts. Adrian's jaw slackened. He yanked at his Patek Philippe tie as though it were strangling him. 6.8 billion? He stammered. Where could you possibly get that kind of money? I tilted my head, savoring the shift in power. Remember when you mocked my cryptocurrency investments 5 years ago? Called it a bubble for dreamers? That became my seed capital for NovaShield. The rest... I shrugged gracefully. Let's just say I understood the future of AI-driven security while you were still clinging to outdated systems. A ripple of movement caught my eye. A cluster of board members cutting through the stunned crowd. At their head was James Morrison, Delgado Global's longest-serving director. His handshake was firm, his smile unmistakably respectful. Miss Delgado, he greeted, his voice carrying over the murmurs. The board is looking forward to tomorrow's session. Your integration proposal is groundbreaking. Thank you, James, I replied smoothly. And please, call me Isabella. Dad stepped forward then, his polished composure cracking under strain. Isabella, surely we can work something out. Keep this in the family. Oh, Dad, I said softly, the words laced with steel. Isn't that what I'm doing? Keeping it in the family? Just not the way you envisioned. Another buzz from my phone drew my glance. Market alerts. Delgado Global stock had spiked 40% in the last 15 minutes. You should thank me, I added lightly. Your shares are worth more now, though of course, you'll be minority stakeholders. Mom gripped her champagne flute until her knuckles whitened. But what about Adrian? I turned to him, letting my smile sharpen. His position is safe, though not as CEO. I'm thinking something more suited to his talents. Emeralds flashed, sealing the night the old empire fell, and mine rose. How does regional sales manager sound? I asked, letting the words fall with calculated precision. Adrian's face turned the color of ripe plums. You can't demote me. I built half those client relationships. The same relationships that have been shrinking for 2 years? I swiped across my tablet and held it up for the board members. And the guests craning their necks? Your last 3 quarters show consistent losses in market share. The board is concerned, Adrian. Speaking of the board, Morrison interjected smoothly, his silver hair glinting under the chandeliers, we should prepare for tomorrow's announcement. The press is already circling like hawks. They want details. I nodded. my voice carrying across the now hushed room. Of course. We'll assure the market that the transition will be seamless. I paused, scanning my parents' pale faces. And that Delgado Global remains a family business. The irony struck like a blade. Conversations fractured into murmurs behind sequined gowns and tailored tuxedos. Dad cleared his throat, trying for calm. Isabella, all those times we dismissed you were exactly what I needed, I finished softly. You taught me the most valuable rule in business. Let people underestimate you. Their arrogance becomes your leverage. I raised my champagne flute toward the glittering crowd. Please, continue celebrating my parents' anniversary, though tonight we also celebrate new beginnings. A ripple of uneasy applause followed, punctuated by camera flashes. The quartet struck up a melody, but tension hummed louder than the strings. I slipped my tablet into my clutch and turned back to Adrian, whose jaw clenched like a vice. I have calls to make before tomorrow's board meeting, I said coolly. You'll receive a full briefing on your new role in the morning. He sputtered something inaudible. I didn't stop. Mom? Dad? I faced them, meeting their glassy stares. Thank you for this beautiful party, and for teaching me something priceless, that success, I let a slow smile bloom, is the best revenge. I pivoted toward the grand doors as Morrison fell into step beside me. Masterfully done, he murmured, his voice low with admiration. Though I must ask, why let Adrian announce the Stratos acquisition tonight? I pushed the doors open, cool night air kissing my skin. Because, Morrison, I said, savoring each word, sometimes you give people their moment of glory before you show them what real power looks like. Behind us, laughter mingled with whispers, the brittle sound of an empire cracking. My Tesla glided to the curb like a silent predator. The driver opened the door. As I sank into the leather interior, my earpiece chimed. Sarah's voice came through, crisp and composed. Your 9 p.m. call with Tokyo is ready. Shall I confirm? Yes, I said, eyes fixed on the ballroom shrinking in the tinted glass. And Sarah? Schedule a family dinner next week. Understood. Good, I murmured. It's time we had a proper business discussion. As the car slid into traffic, I caught one last glimpse of Adrian at the window, his face a storm of rage and reluctant respect. It finally learned what I always knew. Never underestimate the quiet one in the family. I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in my position tonight? For years, I sat quietly at family dinners while they laughed at my little business, acted like my dreams were hobbies, and told me there was always a spot for me in the shadow of my brother's success. Tonight, that silence ended. So tell me, did I go too far, or was this the justice I earned? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Be honest, I can take it. After all, I built an empire on doubt. Every eye roll, every smirk became fuel. But I'm curious. What advice would you give someone who feels underestimated right now? Share it below. You never know who might need to hear your words. And here's my advice to you. Never let anyone else define your value. The quiet one in the room, the one they dismiss, that person often becomes the game changer. Don't announce every move. Build in silence. Let your results speak so loudly that they drown out every insult, every doubt. Because the sweetest victory isn't telling them, it's showing them. If this story inspired you even a little, subscribe to the channel and join me for the next chapter. Hit that button, turn on notifications, and come back for more stories that prove one thing. Success is the ultimate revenge, and power belongs to those who never stop believing in themselves.